So, guys, I appreciate you switching me around. I got a doctor's appointment that I just could not get out of, and I'm glad that I get to be here. And so thanks to Mark. And unfortunately, I know I'm not going to get to talk to Ted, but I was excited to talk about this defensive performance on Sunday.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's start there because we got a bunch of questions to get to with the offense, but and the ball security, all that Drake Maye. But 2 weeks ago we talked to you because there was that whole talking point of what Zach Core and company were throwing at Justin Herbert, and now another phenomenal performance where C.J. Stroud looked. I don't know if he was seeing ghosts, that famous Sam Darnold line, but he was about as bad as you could be, to the point where Dan Orlovsky said the Texans win that game with any other quarterback playing other than C.J. Stroud. Why was he so bad? What did the Patriots do to him?
Well, first of all, I don't agree with that statement. I think the Patriots won because they were the better team, and that defensive performance. I mean, look, oddly enough, some of the interceptions that he threw were not ones that he was particularly under duress. I mean, there was one on the boot where he just threw a bad ball behind the guy. There was the other one that he tried to layer in, and they ran this little wheel route up the sideline, and Carlton Davis fell off and made a tremendous interception. But the reality was they threw a lot at him coverage-wise, blitz-wise, and I kind of talked about it last week. They're kind of spinning the dial on these teams, and I don't think these teams are prepared and maybe don't have the right identification or the right tells to allow them to know what's coming. Now, I will say he was prepared on the one touchdown pass. It was an all-out blitz zero look, and they had the perfect play called. I mean, Nick Caley, obviously coming from the Patriots system, must have known down there it was either going to be max pressure or max coverage. So he blocks it up, and Stroud makes a good throw to the end zone. It's a touchdown. But really, other than that, they couldn't really get the running game going. The defense was just playing with such attitude and aggression. I kind of look at them like this, going back to, remember that Giants game, on that night game they played, and they were just teeing off on people. Christian Ellis. Yep. I mean, I didn't know this dude could hit like this. And every hit that he hit, he's knocking guys' helmets off. So it's kind of an attitude that they've been playing with for a while now. And honestly, I interviewed Milton Williams today. Like, they were flat out disrespected. They felt disrespected that they weren't getting any love going into this game.
Yeah, that was a big card that they played on Sunday. Obviously, that must have been something that Vrabel used in the locker room all week long to get them fired up. Oh, everybody loves the Texans. Show them the ESPN clip. And by the way, yesterday, when Marcus Jones, who made the right jump and the right read on that touchdown pass, it just beat him there by a whisker going into the arms of Kirk. When we asked him, who's the one member of your defense you would least want to get hit by, his answer was Christian Ellis. Dude,
I'm telling you, you can feel it through the screen. I was there when he hit Jackson Dart in person, and it felt like it reverberated through the stadium. I was watching on the TV, and I felt like I could feel the hit through the screen a few times on Sunday. So they're playing at a very high level of confidence, a high level of scheme, and a high level of execution on all three levels: defensive front, linebackers, and the secondary.
Brian, we asked Marcus Jones, when you're on defense, can you feel it when a quarterback is confused or flustered or whatever? So I want to get your perspective on that. Have you been in games like that, performances, maybe going back to college, high school, where you just like, oh my God, they are effing with me. I don't have it today. I just want this game to end. Is that something quarterbacks go through when they know this is just a really bad day and I want it to be over?
I mean, oddly enough, I thank C.J. Stroud because I'm no longer the only Texans quarterback to throw 4 picks in a playoff game. So, there's days.
You guys get a jacket for that?
I know, seriously. And oddly enough, both wore number 7. It must just be a cursed thing to be number 7 playing quarterback for the Texans in the playoffs. So, no, definitely. To me, there's different types of defense you can go against, right? You can go against the defense like the Patriots, who are going to throw a lot at you, and mentally you are going to have to be on top of everything the entire game. And if you're not, it ends up looking like it did on Sunday. Or you can go and there's other, I look at the Seattle Seahawks defense. They don't do a lot of complicated things, but they play so well. And I always said I'd rather play that team because at least I know where they're going to be. I feel like with this Patriots defense, what you're seeing is quarterbacks really get confused on what they're looking at and make mistakes throwing the football or hold the football for too long. And so they're kind of that defense where if you don't know what they're doing, they're going to kind of get you into a bad play by getting you out of rhythm. And I think that's what you saw from C.J. Stroud. Plus, you add in the conditions. Clearly, both teams struggled with holding on to the football because it was a little slick out there. So you couple those two things. Trust me, when defenses get weather like that, they're ready to feast because they know it becomes harder on the offense.
All right, so Brian, I got to ask you: were you the offensive coordinator or head coach of the Texans, given the way Stroud was responding to the environment, the pressure, his own internal clock, everything?
Yeah.
Would you have considered putting in Davis Mills in the second half?
To me, that decision carries a lot more weight than what's going on in that moment. And so you could make the change and maybe it could help your team. But I think what that does for your organization for the future, there's more that goes into that decision than what's happening in that moment. And as crazy as that sounds, this is a guy you drafted early in the first round. Was a rookie, offensive rookie of the year, and he's had his ups and downs. And if you make that switch, I don't know if there's any going back. And so I've seen D'Amico really stand up for him. His teammates have stood up for him. And that's something that needs to be played out a little bit longer. But if you replace him in that most important game of the season, and let's just say Davis Mills plays better, that creates a lot of questions that maybe you don't want to have to deal with. So, look, could he have done better? I don't know. I feel like it didn't matter who was playing quarterback. I don't agree with Orlovsky saying any 31 other quarterbacks would have won that game. I don't really agree with that. I think the Patriots defense flat out beat the Texans on Sunday.
Former Patriots and Texans quarterback Brian Hoyer here on WEEI Afternoons. All right, let's get to the Patriots offense. Drake Maye, 4 fumbles, 2 of them lost. He's now fumbled 6 times. Where do you sit? And I know you might be a little biased as a former quarterback, but it feels like when there's strip sacks and pressure, we have to talk about the quarterback, the tackle, or the offensive lineman, but also the coordinator and the play calling. And I know they made some deep shots, and that actually helped you win the game. How do you blend it all together? Why are they having so much problem with pressure and ball security at the quarterback position?
Sure. Well, let's eliminate the one where Drake changes the play, Mondre doesn't get the check, and he turns around, he's not there, and he goes to turn it up, which you're supposed to do in that scenario, and he just doesn't secure the football. So let's take that one off the table because the other ones were strip sacks. One, I felt like similarly against the Chargers, there was one where he just held it a hair too long and is trying to throw it while he's getting tackled, and as we've said, it's hard because he's a big, strong guy, and I think he can make those throws, and it's just a matter of timing, right? There was another one where I felt like it was on the tackle, and Drake, I replayed it several times. I'm looking at him, and he's hitting his back foot at about 9 yards and immediately stepping up and getting to that 7-yard area, which is, in theory, you should be safe from those edge rushers. As he's going to throw the ball, which he's going to the right place. That's the one thing I would say about Drake. Every time I watch the film, and obviously I have some inside knowledge of what the plays they're running, that strip sack, he's going to throw an inside fade to Stephon Diggs, and he's got him. But Will Anderson's long arm gets him as he's going to release the football. And so it is a combination of things. I think there's some where Drake can move a little more subtly in the pocket to not get to, sometimes you're getting out of harm's way and you end up putting yourself in harm's way, so to speak, by moving too much. There's other ones where I feel like Will Campbell just got to do a better job of getting to these guys before they get into them. I think that's the one thing is sometimes he might get a chip to help him out, but he still sets like he's not getting a chip, and it creates too much space between him and the defensive end. And now all of a sudden the guy resets his rush and gets a 5-yard head start and runs right into him and pushes him into the quarterback. So it takes all of them involved. I didn't think there was many of the strip sacks where guys were not getting open, so to speak. Like Drake's going to throw the football on 3 of those, and it just happened that he's either getting wrapped up and it gets knocked out, or it gets batted out of the back. So they're going to have to do a better job this week. Drake's going to have to try to maybe adjust his drop, whereas, maybe you get to 9 and step up to 7. Now maybe you get to 8 and step up to 6, and try to really create that cocoon of a pocket so he could throw from right behind the center.
But unfortunately for Will Campbell, going from Will Anderson to Nick Bonito is not much of a step down in class size or difficulty. So challenge issued to Marrone and McDaniels overall. But I just want to ask, it seems like after the game in the first 24 to 36 hours following the win over the Texans, Brian, that people sort of came out and said, you know what, actually Drake played better than his stats. I know he's 16 for 27, buck 75, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 4 fumbles, 2 fumbles lost. So up and down game, but people said that he actually played. Would you say that he played better than the stats may say?
I mean, I didn't think that he played poorly when I was watching the game live. Obviously, the turnovers, like, let's just throw the Hail Mary interception out of it. It's basically, It doesn't count for anything. And I honestly, the worst play was following Mondre up the hole and not securing the ball as he dives forward. Like, that was one I felt like he really could have avoided on his own by just putting the ball tight to his chest. But when I watch the coach's film and I watch Drake go through the progressions and get to the right guys, there's very rarely an instant where I think, man, maybe he should have went to this guy instead of that guy. I thought the explosive plays to Booty leading up to the Diggs touchdown were huge. He hits Diggs in a second window slant off of a little play action with a guard pulling, and great touch and pace on that throw. I thought getting to Pop Douglas on the first touchdown, I can hear the protection call he's making. He's setting up the protection in the right way. He knows where his issues are. They start to blitz. He finds Pop, which I do have to shout out Pop Douglas. Like, the conditions, he wasn't worried about how he looked. He took his gloves off, old school style, to make sure he could catch the ball. It's more important to the performance than how you look. And then, obviously, the touchdown to Booty. Like, you couldn't throw a better pass, and I love that it was on Stingley. Very similar to his first start last year against the Texans. He's not intimidated, and he believes in his receivers. And so when they needed him the most, he made big plays, and they're going to need him again this Sunday. And like we've always said, the kid just has the ability to not let things affect him negatively, or if things are going too well. Like, he's so even keel at his age, and he's going to need that quality for these next few weeks as they make this run.
He's absolutely even keeled, but that's where I wanted to go with the next question. This is going to be hard to sort of put yourself in his mindset. Yeah. It's 2 weeks in a row, fumbles and those types of things. Confidence is so important, not only in himself, but also in his line to protect him. Do you think this is an issue? Could this get in his head? Could this zap some of his confidence where he isn't that playmaker that's holding on for that extra half second? Because we talked to Josh last Friday, and he said he trusts Drake. He has to trust him.
Yeah.
He brought up Steph Curry. And he's like, if Steph Curry misses 12 shots, you don't tell him to stop shooting. And I thought that was a really interesting comp. But as a quarterback, if you go a couple weeks in a row, fumbles, sacks, pressures, does your confidence start to waver?
With this kid, it doesn't seem like it does. It's so funny. Josh always used to tell us his love of Steph Curry. And I'm not the biggest Steph Curry fan, but I had to hear about it all the time. So it's funny for him to reference it. But it is a good correlation. Like, when the guy's playing as good as he's played all year, you just look, you don't think Drake knows, like, don't fumble the ball. Like, he knows. He's just got to make sure that he tries to get up in that pocket. He's got to understand when certain plays are called, and he's thinking that he might have to throw the ball a little bit downfield. You may have to speed up the process a little bit and push up a little bit sooner than you're used to when you're playing these elite pass rush units. And I think the one thing I saw today, like, no quarterback has ever in the playoffs faced a top five defense in all 3 playoff games in one. Cam Newton was the last one to face them all and didn't win that conference championship. So Drake has an opportunity, for all the naysayers and, the schedule, this and that. Look, if they make it to the Super Bowl and beat Denver, they will have faced the gauntlet of defenses on the AFC side. And my guess is, if they do make it, there's going to be one from the NFC side in Seattle that's sitting there waiting for them.
Yeah, if they face Seattle, if they get through Denver and then Seattle, be 4 of the top 5 defenses in the NFL. But again, everyone's going to yell Kubrick zirconia, fool's gold, all that nonsense. But we know it ain't true. And of course, it would be incredible also, Hoyer, if Vrabel and May get to go to the Super Bowl through Denver, which is something Tom and Bill never were able to do, which is kind of mind blowing. But to the idea of playing in Denver, just your thoughts, your memories, your warnings and edicts you'd like to share with people. Like, what is it like? How crazy is that? I heard like it's the snap count is miserable because it's so loud in the air and everything. Just your thoughts on Denver in general.
No, it is. It's a hostile environment to go play, and honestly, it's one of those environments kind of similar to Kansas City. Like, you want to go play and you want to win there because it is such a great environment. It's look, we have great fans here in New England. They have great fans in Denver, and the setting is awesome. The lady rides out on the horse. Like, it's a whole thing, and the stadium will be rocking. That's why I think it's important for the Patriots to get out early to a lead, similar to like how they did against the Texans. And I know they kind of gave it away a little bit, but with the home team, if you can get on them early and put the pressure back on them, especially with, Stidham's going to have to play good quarterbacking to win this game. And it's not going to be an easy task with the Patriots defense. Like, I would love to see the Patriots to get up 7-0, 10-0, and all of a sudden the fans out there are starting to say, well, it's just not our year. Like, Nick's got hurt. We got the backup quarterback playing. They got a lead on us early. You got to try to break their will early, and it's going to be tough. And you want to get the fans out of it.
Can you expand on the Stidham factor? Because you've played every role of quarterback, starter, backup, coming in, whatever. What's he faced this week in terms of in his own mind, pressure, just the tough part of he hasn't thrown a football in a real game in 2 years. He's never started a playoff game. What's he facing?
Yeah, it's tough. And I texted him. I said, hey, man, this is what you prepare for. Like, being in that role, you never know when it's going to come. And, whether it's fortunately or unfortunately for him, here it is in the biggest game of the year. But, look, I've known Jared since he's a rookie, and he's been really well coached. I mean, if you think about the coaches he's had when it comes to offense, it's Josh McDaniels and Sean Payton. And Sean Payton loves him. And Sean Payton liked him coming out of college, and he was a free agent, and they decided to keep him there with Bo Nix. Because they know that he can operate the system. And Peyton has gone out on the record and said Stidham will be ready to play. And so anyone who thinks this is going to be a cakewalk because Stidham's playing, I guarantee he's going to play better than C.J. Stroud did last week. So he's going to know exactly what to do when the play's called. And I would just say, in 2017, when Tom split his thumb open on Wednesday practice of the AFC Championship game, I didn't sleep very much that week, and there was still a possibility that Tom might play, so for Stidham, the shock is over with, right? He knows come Sunday, at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, he's stepping out on the field. So it's all about preparation. And look, he's a friend of mine. I hope he plays well, but I hope the Patriots win. And I think that this Patriots defense is going to make it tough on them, especially if Denver can't run the football like they weren't able to against Buffalo, and it turns into Stidham having to throw the ball 35, 40 times a game against this defense. I don't think that's going to be a good outcome for Denver.
All right, before we let you go, what is the prediction? We know what you're hoping for. What's going to happen?
Yeah, I've already, on my podcast, I've made the prediction. I think it's 27-17. I think the Patriots, I don't think this Denver defense is as good as that Houston defense, so I think they will score some touchdowns, get a few field goals. Ultimately, they just can't put the ball on the ground like they did this past week, because I do think Stidham will play better. He'll understand the system, and he won't lose the game for him. So I'm going to go 27-17. Patriots head to the Super Bowl.
All right, Brian Hoyer, former Patriots quarterback. Appreciate you joining us. We'll tell Ted you said hello. We won't let him know you didn't want to talk to him today. That's why you bumped it up.
No, I do. I couldn't get out of it, so I appreciate you moving around. I'll talk to you guys next Tuesday.
All right, thanks, Brian.